I just kept telling you about how it was the series that made me fall in love with reading as an adult. What do you mean? What do you mean get rid of them? How is this worse than Twilight? Hey everybody, it is Whimsically Wicked coming at you with only the whimsical half this week. Daria and I don't live in the same place, but because we always film at Daria's, y'all have never seen my bookshelf. And it is past due for a book unhaul. So I'm going to be taking you through my entire bookshelf and we're going to get rid of a bunch of stuff together. You're going to get to learn a little bit about me, which is cool, I think. Now, before you continue with this video, please give us a like, a subscribe, comment what you think about what I got rid of and what I'm keeping. I am so grateful for each and every one of you here. So I hope you enjoy. All right, y'all, I have a bunch of books that I know that I'm going to be getting rid of today. And so we're going to go through my bookshelf, shelf by shelf, to decide which one I'm going to be keeping and which ones I'm going to be throwing away. I have decided that I'm going to have 3 or 4 different piles here. One that are going to be donated to my local library, one for piles of books that I've read and I'm keeping, and one for piles of books to prioritize finally reading. Truthfully, I have not been feeling my best lately. I've been having a really hard time getting ready in the morning, getting dressed. Also just had a really hard time being productive and doing something with my time that I feel meaningful and valuable. One thing that really helps me is decluttering. We live in a pretty small house and we really prioritize not having too much stuff so that it's cluttered. Everything in our house has a place. Now, my boyfriend built me this wonderful bookshelf for Valentine's Day this year, so we had a spot for all of my books, but one of my least favorite things is looking at my bookshelf and seeing either a bunch of books that I've bought that I haven't read yet mocking me, or seeing books that I don't love or don't connect with anymore. It's really important to me that my bookshelf is a place that I can go to look at all of the stories that I've loved and connected with, and right now it's just not feeling that way. So we are gonna go through all of them today. When I got back into reading in 2020, I wanna say, 2020, during COVID, when book talk started to get really popular and nobody could leave their house, that's when I got back into reading. Of course, I started with Throne of Glass. That became my entire personality for like a year. And after reading similar books over and over again, I found myself in a huge reading slump. So over the last couple years, I've really found what my reading style is, the type of books that I love to read, and I now no longer read the same genre back to back. Otherwise, I burn out, and I love all genres. That also means that I have bought a lot of books that I thought I was eventually going to read and I just never got to. Today I'm going to have a real conversation with myself about if I'm actually ever going to read these books. Now, this bookshelf might look a little bit bare after this, but that's kind of the goal. We want a nice clean bookshelf with lots of rooms for new books that I actually really, really love. Okay, let's do it. This is the first shelf we're going to do. Circe. I have heard so many good things about this book. I also love Madeline Miller already. I have read A Song of Achilles, and I really want to read this, so I'm not giving up on it just yet. I'm going to keep it. These 2 books are actually not mine. They are my cousin's. I am not going to throw away her books. We'll get those to her. My Dark Vanessa. Obviously, this book doesn't instill joy when I look at it, but it does remind me of a very important story, so I'm going to keep it. But I have read it, so it's going to go in a different pile. Silka's Journey is by the same author as the tattooist of Auschwitz. Silka is actually an individual mentioned in this book, and the author wrote a based on true story novel about her journey. I was really invested in this story probably a year and a half ago, and I just never got to it, and the longer it goes on, the more I think that I might never get to it. And if I'm on the fence, I'm gonna say goodbye. A Man Called Ova. This was picked for a book club way back when, before I moved cities, and I really like Frederick Bachman, but I don't know if I'm gonna get to this one. I want to. I hear it's good. You know what? Okay. This might be a really good filler read. A Man Called Ova stays for one more. If he's still not read by my next book unhaul, he's leaving. Shantram. I want to read this so badly. It is a very interesting story. It's more of a biography than anything, to my understanding. Hopefully I'm not wrong about that. Keeping it. The Alice Network. Love this book. One of my favorite of all time. I've read it, but I'm keeping it. The Huntress. Same author, Kate Quinn. Really big fan. I'm keeping it. I don't know what to do with you. I have mixed feelings about you. You traumatized me. At the time that I read you, I felt like I needed you, but I don't know that I agree that this is necessarily a good book overall. I don't think I can get rid of it, but I've complicated feelings about this. We don't need to get into it. This is probably the whole reason that I read A Little Life in the first place. This is my sister's keeper. If you aren't aware, if you haven't seen the movie, if you haven't had that in your life, I'm not going to get rid of it. We don't need to relive that. The Seven Husbands of Evelyn Hugo. Big fan. She's not going anywhere. Song of Achilles, not going anywhere. Misery by Stephen King. Looking back on this now, I probably shouldn't have loved it as much as I did, but I think I read this one when I was getting back into reading, and it was really quick, plain read. I really enjoyed it at the time, and I'm just always going to have that positive feeling about it. Well, not positive. It's not about a good story, but it was a really fun read. You know what I'm talking about. It's staying. Beartown, there's the Frederick Bachman. Big fan of Beartown. This was a 5-star read. I adore this style of writing, which is why I think I would really enjoy A Man Called Uva, but here we are. I've tried to read this book 3 or 4 times. It's Elias Grace by Margaret Atwood, and I also have A Handmaid's Tale. Actually, I'm pretty sure this might be banned in my province right now, so I'm keeping it out of spite. And for that same reason, I kind of want to keep this because I think Margaret Atwood is a very important writer and writes very dystopian and seemingly a little bit too real stories. But I don't know if I'm ever going to get through this one. I've tried 3 or 4 times. I've even tried the audiobook, and I, for some reason, just could never get into it, but I don't know if that was a time and place issue or if it was a book issue. It's kind of a big book. I didn't know that any of her stories had this much to say. Haylee, you have to get rid of some books. Right now, you're only at 1. This is shelf 1. Okay, I'm going to make another pile for make a decision at the end. I need to think about it. I actually haven't read Carrie Soto is Back. Obviously, Evelyn Hugo got me into Taylor Jenkins Reid, and I've really enjoyed a couple of her books since, at least one, Malibu, which I'm going to keep. But Malibu Rising wasn't as good, in my opinion, as Evelyn Hugo. And then I just never got into this one because I think I needed a break. But maybe I will. It would be a good filler book. I'm going to keep it. I don't think I'm ever going to read this one. I would maybe consider it a filler book, but I've been through one shelf and already said that about 2 books. Which actually kind of just adds to this. I also have The Diamond Eye by Kate Quinn, which is a newer Kate Quinn novel, and also it's historical fiction, if I'm not mistaken. So I'm probably more likely to read this one because I trust the author. We'll keep 1. Good compromise. I actually just finished this one, A Bookseller in Madrid. Very, very good. I really enjoyed this one. It's very short and super digestible. It is about a woman who tries to keep a bookstore open during the Civil War in Spain during World War II. I recommend. Okay, shelf 1. We are keeping 12 books that I have read, 5 books that I haven't, 1 book that I'm not sure of yet and we're going to come back to, 2 books that we're getting rid of, and 2 books that are my cousin's and need to go back to her. All right, let's get another one. I don't think I'm throwing as many books away as I initially thought. I need a stool. Welcome to the young adult section. This one's gonna be tough on me. Okay, we're gonna start with Twilight. I think it's safe to say that there's at least a small part of me that was shaped by this series. Like, to the point where I forced my boyfriend, who had never seen them, to watch them in 2025. But I think we also all need to be honest with ourselves about when it might be time to let it go. There just might be a time where we need to grow out of certain things, and I'm gonna give myself permission to do so. Okay, that was probably enough. Okay, don't get mad at me. Don't get mad at me. I have never read them. This was the series that I missed. Actually, I might have read the first half of one of them. If I know what it's about. I bought these at a secondhand bookstore maybe a year and a half ago because this was a significant series that I missed out on as a child, and for a while I tried to convince myself that eventually I would read them just for the experience. But I also think that my time may have passed because I know these books are bad. I know that they were legendary, but I know that they were written over the course of like 2 weeks and didn't have a lot of good editing. And I think it's safe to say now that as a 27-year-old woman, I won't be able to handle it. Goodbye. There is not a world in which you could convince me to get rid of these. I'm not getting rid of the Hunger Games either. Keeping. Passenger wasn't that good from what I remember. It didn't have a lasting impact on me, so we're gonna get rid of it. I don't know if y'all remember Stephenie Meyer writing another book called The Host. I think that this book was so bad that I tried to read it 8 or 9 times and couldn't. I don't fully remember what it was about. I think it was about like aliens coming down and taking over humans. Like the alien was a host in a human's body, and I don't remember what happens from there. Maybe I did read it. I don't know. Getting rid of it. Okay, this series over here, this is Harry Potter. The author of these books is a terrible person. And if I could make it so that she never made another dollar in her entire life, I would do it. These books were purchased in 1998, and they are in very bad shape. This series played such a vital role in the whimsy that I carried throughout my childhood and into adulthood, and the magic that I feel reading books. So I am keeping them. One day these will fall apart, and I won't buy new ones. This keep pile is a lot bigger than the throwaway pile. Percy Jackson, this will always be such a beloved story to me, and I'm not getting rid of them. Okay, the rest of this young adult section is all Rick Riordan. This was a spin-off series. Sometimes I reread this series and the previous one as comfort to fall asleep. This is something that if I ever have kids, I will read to them as they get older. I should really, I'm including Percy Jackson. This one I struggle with because this is another Rick Riordan series. It was Egyptian God spin-off series, and I never read it, and I wish that I had, but I don't ever know if I am going to be as knowledgeable about this universe as I might have wanted to at the age of 13. And once again, I think my time has passed, so I'm gonna get rid of them. I'm grieving teenage Haylee today. All right. I don't really know how to talk about this one. I have an entire shelf full of Cassandra Clare. This is the City of Bones and every single spin-off that exists except for I think 3 of them. Now, City of Bones obsessed fans, come close. I read City of Bones when I was probably 14 years old, and I was very much the target audience for them. And when I got back into reading, I was sad that I had never finished the novels before, so I picked them back up. And at 20, I was just enough of the target audience still to drink the tea. And I did. And now I have an entire shelf of all of the Shadowhunters books. and we have to figure out what to do with them together. This might be painful. I just feel like whatever I decide to do here says a lot about me. The fact that I'm even considering it. How is this worse than Twilight? Okay. I don't know what we're gonna do with these yet. What I can say is that I will be keeping the Infernal Devices series. Tessa, Jem, and Will, even though love triangles are the worst trope, this is probably one of the two that I will ever be okay with, and I will defend until the day I die. Now we have the main series. And the main series was so good and so bad at the same time. Okay, I'm not ready to make that decision yet. Okay, the Dark Artifices were bad, and I am not afraid to admit that, and I don't really care if they're in my house anymore, so we're donating these. These ones I thought were better, and also they're really pretty. Look how pretty, and they have nice artwork in them. So how can I get rid of them? But if I keep these, I have to keep the main series. And if I keep the main series, then I'm only giving away 3 of them. There's a big part of me that feels like it's all or nothing. Okay, Haley, are you really going to have these on your shelf? Screw it, I'm not ready to get rid of them. They're all staying. These are coming out of the donation pile, and they're staying with me for a little bit longer. Okay, so far, after 4 shelves, I have 4 donated books. Let's keep her going. Are you good, dude? This is messier than I thought it was gonna be. Okay, I guess we'll start with Fourth Wing. One thing that I am slightly ashamed to admit about myself is that sometimes I just want to hate read something. I do it with watching shows too. The most recent show that I hate watched was Rings of Power, both seasons, and then I proceeded to watch probably 150 hours worth of videos about why it was so bad. And I don't feel guilty saying that. They screwed that series up. Don't mess with the Lord of the Rings fans. Ugh. I digress. Sorry, y'all. I'm sorry. What I will say, I really enjoyed hate reading this, if that counts for any consolation. And what I will also admit is that I am not the target audience. But what I'm battling with is that if you enjoyed hate reading something, does it spark enough joy to keep on your shelf? And that is a very good question, but at least for now, the answer might be yes. It's also pretty, so I'll give it that. We're gonna keep it. This is Steelheart by Brandon Sanderson. I actually have not read this one yet because it's not part of the Cosmere, that's why. But I'm pretty sure that eventually I will read every text written by Brandon Sanderson because I'm one of those people. And so we're gonna keep it and ideally prioritize reading it. Theft of Swords, oh my gosh. Okay, Daria, the other girl who's usually on this channel, she bought me this for one of my birthdays and said it's one of her favorite fantasy series of all time. I'm really excited about this one. It is a more high epic fantasy with really good world building, not so much a romance focus, so just keep that, but I'm keeping this and I do really want to read it. The thing that's really tough about fantasy, because it is my favorite genre, high fantasy, a little bit less romance focused, is with my rule that I refuse to read the same genre over and over again, it makes reading big series and a lot of them really difficult. I read quite a bit, but definitely not quite as much as a lot of people on this app and these communities do, and there are so many fantasy series that I want to prioritize, but a lot of them are massive. So what I think I'm going to be prioritizing is some of those smaller series, the duologies and trilogies, because we do still have quite a bit left in the Cosmere universe, which you all know is a lot of books, so I can't handle anything huge. Which actually is probably a good segue into this book, Eye of the World by Robert Jordan. This is book 1 of the Wheel of Time series, and actually one that Brandon Sanderson finished. It's 1,000,000 books long. I do not have time to read this right now. I eventually will get to this series. There is no doubt in my mind about that. But until I finish the Cosmere, I straight up do not have time for a series that is 14 books long. And also, I don't like these book covers. So when I read it, if I love it as much as I think that I will, I'll probably get new ones. My favorite covers are the OG ones, those paperbacks that you'll see in secondhand bookstores. Those are the ones that I want. But for now, I am going to keep this on my shelf. A, to remind me to read it, and B, if I don't love it, then I don't have to worry about actually getting the other books. Okay, Smile at the Dark. This is a self-published book that my ex's friend's husband wrote. I have no interest in reading this and almost have no interest in even donating it, but if it's somebody's type of book, then great. I have no idea what it's about. Oh, we've got some young adult. This might be in the same boat as the Percy Jackson, where I will just pick these up if I need to fall asleep or something. There's probably a very high percentage of people who are very into Brandon Sanderson now read this as a child. Keep. Okay. I only have the first 3 of the Zodiac Academy books right now, but I think it would be pretty hypocritical of me to get rid of these, considering if you are not new to our channel, you know that we have recapped a lot of these books in great detail. So it's kind of a responsibility that I have these on my shelf. Zodiac Academy stays. I was talking about how I was getting back into reading in my early 20s, and during that time, I purchased a lot of books that I thought I was going to love and read. And because Throne of Glass got me back into reading, the romantasy genre was what I was reading at the time. But as time went on, the less and less I was reading romance fantasy. And there are a lot of unstarted series that I had wanted to read or I thought I had wanted to read at that time. But I'm just a different reader now. And so we might really need to look at some of these. Priory of the Orange Tree is one of them. There were a couple of people on the internet who really, really loved the Priory of the Orange Tree. Well, there was a lot more than a couple, but a couple of people that I had followed and tend to have similar tastes to. So part of me thinks that I might still like this one, and I know that it's not as big as it looks just because the margins and the amount of actual words on each page are so low. This is kind of one that always mocks me because there are people that loved it that makes me think that I would love it. It makes me want to read it, but I just don't know if I'm there anymore. And this goes back to my point about how there are just so many fantasy series that I want to read and just not enough time for me to do so, and it mocks me. But this is also a duology. That's what I was just saying that I want to prioritize and have because they're manageable, but I don't know if this is. I know it's romance fantasy, but I also haven't read a romance fantasy in a long time, and so maybe it would be nice. Maybe it would be nice as my next one. I don't know. I'm clearly unsure about this. Okay, go in the come back to it pile. These aren't going anywhere. Red Rising, love, 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 love. Pierce Brown, welcome to TikTok. But I actually only read the first trilogy, and so these can go in the red section. I think the other one's here. I do want to pick up Iron Gold, which is the 4th book in the series, or the 1st book in the 2nd trilogy, however you want to look at it. I've read probably 30-40% of it and just didn't get through it. Iron Gold is definitely his weakest book that I've read so far, and that just made it a little bit more difficult to go through after I was on such a high from book 3. Book 2 and 3 of the Red Rising series is some of the best science fiction that I have ever read. And that was such a high going into Iron Gold. Again, I struggled, but I'm going to pick it up again eventually. I think I just needed a break. Okay, well, actually, let's find Iron Gold and just put it in that. This pile of the books that I keep saying I'm going to read is getting big. Okay, Throne of Glass, I only got the first 3 off of the shelf. These aren't going anywhere. I just kept telling you about how it was the series that made me fall in love with reading as an adult. What do you mean? What do you mean get rid of them? One that I might consider is Crescent City. I might consider getting rid of these. I did the same thing with these that I did with the Shadowhunters, is that I just really immersed myself in the Sarah J. Maas universe, and I can confidently say I'm not the biggest fan of how Sarah J. Maas did the multiverse, and so I do think that there's a time where I don't have these. But it's not today. I also have the ACOTAR series, but my friend is borrowing it, and I'm pretty sure I'm never getting those back. And I'm okay with it. Oh, The Serpent and the Wings of Night. Pretty sure this is a vampire fantasy series. I already know for a fact that this is not for me, so I'm not going to push it. Patrick Rothfuss. I know we're never getting the third book. I've accepted it. It's fine. I don't think I'm going to get rid of these. I read The Name of the Wind forever ago. I have not read The Wise Man's Fear. I would like to. You can't be a fantasy fan without these on your shelf. I know that this is me seeking external validation. I just don't know if I can handle if someone comes over to my house and looks at the bookshelf and says, "Oh, you've read all of these?" And I have to say, "No, I haven't." That's just never a conversation that I want to have. So I really want to limit the amount of books that I haven't read yet, but I promise I really want to. Can you say that to people? Like, if they're like, "Have you read all of these books?" And you're just like, "No, but I really want to." I swear, I promise I will. That pile is getting so big. And now I have to do it again. Okay, I have read the first George R. R. Martin series. Obviously, I've watched the entire series too. I was pretty butthurt about that last season, but I do love George R. R. Martin's style of writing. I absolutely loved the first book. Once again, this is a series I want to finish, but now you're seeing why I haven't finished all these series, right? There's so many of them. Oh, this is not how I expected this would go. This isn't a book on haul. This is a rude awakening. Okay. We're almost there. I don't even know what pile is what anymore. A lot of the books down here are also my boyfriend's, and I don't really know that I want to throw them out without his permission, so we're not going to touch those. Let's start with The Invisible Life of Addie LaRue. I am actually quite critical of V.E. Schwab's writing. It's just not for me. I liked her newer book, Bury Our Bones in the Midnight Soil, a lot more than I liked this one. I'm going to get rid of this one. I have Outlander on my shelf. My family is Scottish and loves Scottish romance. Turns out it wasn't for me. Okay, we're increasing this get rid of pile. We got some more young adult. I have Shadow and Bone of Six of Crows. Six of Crows is one of the best duologies I have ever read. We're gonna keep that. Shadow and Bone is one of the worst trilogies I've ever read. Six of Crows was just such an elevated story. I think this one just lacked both character depth and plot. Sorry, I'm mean today. I need to eat more. I am going to get rid of Shadow and Bone. It does not spark joy. The Folk of the Air, I feel kind of weird about this one. I remember it being pretty okay. I feel quite neutral about it, but I remember that there were some good times during it. And I've read it, which increases the ratio of books that I've actually read on my shelf. I have 2 copies of This Is How You Lose the Time War. Before my boyfriend and I moved in together, we were buying kind of dual copies of things. I read This Is How You Lose the Time War on a beach last year and absolutely adored it. At the time, my boyfriend was still just getting back into reading. Ladies, if you want your man to read more and he's a nerd, that's important. He must be a nerd. Like Lord of the Rings and Dungeons and Dragons type nerd. Just get him on Brandon Sanderson. Chances are he's already read it, but if he hasn't, get him on that and he will read with you all day. Anyways, during this time we were starting Brandon Sanderson together. We had our little couples book club, but because we could only read together, I had quite a few other books on the go, whereas that was the only time he would read. And so there were books that I read that I really loved and wanted him to read, so he bought a copy. Looking back now, he's gonna hate this book. If he ever actually reads this book, he's gonna hate it. This was not a good rec for him. Now that we're living together, we have 2 copies of a couple things, so we gotta get rid of one. Babel, R.F. Kuang. I'm gonna keep this one. I enjoyed it. Tomorrow and Tomorrow and Tomorrow. Also enjoyed. Gonna keep it. and Fantasy of Frost. I don't think I'll ever get the rest of this series. It was just okay, but I had fond times with it. I will keep the first one. Do you all find it difficult to keep portions of series? Like, I'm keeping Fourth Wing, I'm keeping Fantasy of Frost. There's a couple things that I just have 1 or 2 books of where I'm like never gonna buy the whole series because I didn't love them that much, but I'm not willing to get the one away. Okay, we're getting there. I'm gonna see if I can just pull you up because we're not getting rid of any of the next shelf. Okay, I'm just gonna take you through a little tour of these couple shelves because none of them are leaving. First, we have a Marvel encyclopedia. We also have Marvel comic books. Those aren't going anywhere. I'm a big fan. We also have a Dungeon Master guide for Dungeons and Dragons, and I'm trying to learn how to be a Dungeon Master right now, and it's very intimidating, so I need source material. This is all of our Lord of the Rings stuff. This is The Hobbit, Fellowship, Two Towers, and The Return of the King. They're in very pretty hardcovers with very pretty art, and they are not going anywhere. Along with that, we have more Lord of the Ring text. We have The Silmarillion, we have Beren and Luthien, and we have The Fall of Gondolin. Here, we have our Brandon Sanderson shelf because we are weird. These are our 2 Mistborn copies. Now, we started these series when we were not living together, so we both needed a copy, and now we have 2. I don't like these covers either, but we do have almost the whole series in the leather-bound copies, so we'll just go with this. One of this series serves as a borrow book, so that when we have friends who we want to join us into the cult that is Brandon Sanderson, we let them borrow those. So we're going to keep them both. We also have the short stories, Mistborn: A Secret History, Edge Dancer, and Dawnshard. They're in these cute little novella books. Also have Tress of the Emerald Sea. Haven't read this one yet because it hasn't come up in our reading order yet. We'll probably read all of the secret projects at the end of Cosmere while we're waiting for new ones to come out. These are 3 leather-bound books. We have the first 2 Mistborn Era 1 books and Warbreaker that is also signed. We usually have 2 Way of Kings novels, but one of them is with a friend that we are trying to convince to join the cult. Well, he's there now. He's like 10 books in. He's in now. We have Words of Radiance, Oathbringer, Rhythm of War. We have yet to read that one because we are currently reading the Wax and Wane series, Mistborn Era 2. And then we also have Elantris. I'm going to have to reorganize these because it's filling up because we have so many now, but I forgot that there was 2 we were going to come back to. Elias Grace and Priory of the Orange Tree. I'm going to put them in the prioritized reading for now. But if y'all are still here next time we do this, that's it. So the total number of books that I'm giving away is 23. Yay! The number of books that I'm going to be keeping that I haven't read yet, but I am going to prioritize because I really want to read them. However, anytime somebody comes over and asks me if you've read all of those books, I still have to say no because of these, is 16. Okay, and then the number of books that... Okay, the number of books that I have loved and read. I'm not counting it, it's a lot. Now I gotta put them all back.